Hi boys and girls, welcome back to Miss Kitty's Corner. So for today's episode, we are going to do another lesson on sketching. So last week, when we talked about sketching, we talked about the line family, and specifically the straight line family. Well, today, I want to talk about the dot and circle family, which looks something like this. Now, I'm wondering if you can take a moment to think about what is the difference between a dot and a circle. So if we look here, that's the traditional circle that we think about when we think about our basic shapes, what we learned in first grade as well as kindergarten. Now over here, right, so this is both the circle, and then the second one is what is called an oval. And we've also learned about an oval. It is a little bit oblong, right? So it's stretched out and it's not perfectly circular. The third one is an ellipse. So it's a circle that looks like it's smushed, right? It almost looks like a pancake. That's how we can remember it. And this last one looks like if you've ever eaten chili and your parents or guardians put kidney beans in it, this is the shape of a kidney, right? It has a side that goes in a little bit, which you can see on right there. So what's the main difference? Because it looks like traditional circles, oval, ellipse, and kidney. Now, what's the difference between the dot and the circle? Right, the dot is colored in, whereas the circle is not. So both a dot and a circle are roundish. They always have to be roundish. Look at their edges. They don't look anything like the line family, which has straight edges. But the dot is colored in, whereas the circle is empty. So today we're going to be practicing drawing dots as well as circles. And so I was walking around my house thinking to myself that I wonder how common it is that we see dots and circles in everyday objects. And I was walking around and I saw so many different objects in my house that have dots as well as circles. And the first of those objects I saw, this is a pen I have of mine. See, this is the tip to the pen. And this, my friends, is the little pot it's supposed to look like that the cactus plant or pen goes into. So I was looking both at the bottom, this is the overall circle, and then the filled in part in the bottom would be the dot. I was also looking at my pens that are on my desk, and I picked one up. Let's see, I'll get one that you can see. Look at the outside. The edge is the circle, right? And the inside, you can see a dot. It's filled in. So really interesting. We have so many objects sitting around our house that have dots as well as circles in them. And that's why when we're sketching, it's important to know how to sketch a dot and a circle. Now, we all have had practice sketching in art as well as during indoor recess, but I think it's a great skill to really focus on because we have dots and circles in so many different everyday objects. So what we're going to do today is, if you would like to participate, go ahead and look around your house and try to find something that has dots as well as circles. Or maybe it just has one. Maybe Champ decided to join our video, as you can see. But maybe what your object is, it just has just dots or just circles. My object that I chose for today is this little pot. So it's supposed to have a plant in it, but Miss Kitty has way too many plants in her house. So she keeps something called potpourri in it, which is something that it's little bits of, this is bark, there's dried flowers, and they have a scent to them. So this one smells like cinnamon, something that adults keep in their house to make it smell nice and fresh. So this is what I chose to sketch today for my object. And I chose it because look how many dots there are on the outside. And they're actually 3D, it's textured. I'm not sure if you can see, if you look at this edge right here, it's not flat, right? You see it's bumpy, and that's because all of these come off of the pot. And so when you run your fingers over it, it feels bumpy. So I chose this object to sketch today because I knew it had so many different dots on it that I thought it would be great for me to practice to sketch with. So just as I did last week, I'm going to put my video on time lapse, and you can watch as I sketch and try to figure out how, and practice as well, I'm going to draw in all of these dots. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so this is what I ended up with after I did a little bit of something called smudging that I also thought that I would talk about just for a moment. So when I'm sketching, sometimes I see that I have drawn a line that is a little too harsh, because if you remember the first episode when I talked about sketching, is that we do these light lines, right? We just barely hover our pencil over the paper instead of these hard, dark lines like that. We always use light lines with sketching. And so sometimes I'll notice that maybe I made a line just a little bit too harsh. And so what I'll do is I'll take one of my fingers and I will smudge it. And so it kind of evens out the color of the line. So it doesn't look as harsh as it did before. And so I did that when I was trying to draw some of my potpourri. It didn't go very well, and I don't have an eraser. And so I said, you know what, I'll smudge a little bit so it looks less harsh. And so the lines blur together a little bit better. And so as I was drawing my little planter vase, I realized how perfect each of these dots are and how hard it is to draw such perfect dots. So that's something that I learned today, that when artists, sketch these items that have, or these objects that have such intricate little or descriptive little dots and circles, their hand must be so steady and they must be so detailed and patient during it. So that's something that I definitely learned during today's episode. But this was my final product, and I really learned a lot about, what it is to have patience being an artist, because each of us are artists in our own ways. And we learn more and more each time that we sketch. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode on sketching and the circle and dot family, learning about the basic 5 elements of shape. And I hope to see you in my next episode. Bye-bye for now, everybody.